we can enter into the second half here with questions from people. I remind our attendees here, you can raise your virtual hands and then we can acknowledge you in order to open your microphone. Mr. Kesh, are you ready to begin?
Yes, we are ready to go.
Okay, is there anything else you wanted to say first, or shall we enter into some questions?
We enter and we see what comes up and what we do. I hope I gave you enough good news today and what is about to come. There's much more to that. But the dream of the energy systems and the health centers was something which knowledge wanted for a long time. Now has become a reality. And that we're going to have different changes into the whole work of the Keshe Foundation. Would you like to see if there's any?
Okay, well, we have a question in YouTube from DBO DBZ, or DBZ, depending on which country you're in. Question to Mr. Kesh: is gas, oxygen gas in the blood, is that the field strength of the soul of the physicality?
Everything in the body has a soul of physicality. Even the hemoglobin and the rest of it. It's not exclusivity of one atom or one object just because you think you see it.
Could I rephrase it to say, is the field strength of a cell related to the oxygen content?
Not really. If you look at it as a matter state, you do, but we know the oxygen, whatever in the body of the man, is the level of the charges of the magnetic field, the strength. So this does not have any meaning if you look at it.
But wouldn't if the strength decreases, say when we get carbon monoxide and it replaces the oxygen, for example, and we get carbon monoxide poisoning?
The way you talk is in the old science. The way we talk about carbon monoxide in a new science is totally different. Why do you die at the present knowledge from carbon monoxide? If you now understand that it's the energies of the what you call carbon monoxide which crosses the lung of the man, then you can develop technologies very rapidly that you just put on the body and you change the fields of the what you call carbon monoxide to a useful energy, and that's it, you don't die of it. You don't need a oxygen mask, you don't need something else. When you work with a new technology, you got to work with a new technology. You can't be, as I always say, like a camel bird. Look at half of the science in the matter state and what you've been taught about materials, and then the other half try to fix it in the plasma states of understanding. With a new technology, nobody should die of carbon monoxide. Because now we understand it's not a carbon which enters your lung, it's the energy of it which blocks the field transfer into the blood, or field transfer in the lung to deliver the oxygen to the energy level to the blood. This is a totally different ball game. If you work purely in a plasma science of understanding of the plasma working or matter working, because you never understood when the carbon monoxide enters the lung, doesn't go into the blood. Its energy transfers into blood. Why that energy is not reachable to the blood? Always said, it's like the dimmer on the light you have at home. If you don't bring the energy enough, the light stays dim. If you increase the energy, the light turns on and it shines, and you try how bright you want the light. Carbon monoxide, due to its characteristics, does not transmit the energy which the bloodstream can pick up. So it starves of that energy and you die because of it. You call it suffocation. It's not, it's actually, what is the purpose of the lung? You don't die of suffocation. You inhale and you block the energy transfer, which is in balance with your blood circulation, which is with the energy from the, what you call, environment you live in. How would you die in a deeper space when you jump into the space from, what do you call it, a space lab? Do you die of suffocation from carbon monoxide? No, there is no carbon monoxide. But now you say you die because of the lack of oxygen. You find another excuse for not understanding the totality of the knowledge. If you train your lung in a space to take any energies from cosmos, from environment, you can walk in a space. You don't need a spacesuit because now you take energies of the universe. You talk about carbon monoxide, but it has nothing to do. You take your energy, which is not in line with the combination of oxygen energy levels in your hemoglobin in the blood. Because you say you have two circulation, one bringing the non-oxygenated oxygenated blood and one oxygenated blood. One is bright color, one is dark color. Who changes the color? Why the world of science has never looked at it? Hello, it's the same blood. Who is there to change its color? But if you understand the light from the sun, you see the darker spots on it because it absorbs the energy from it. It means what is coming back is the energies which is used. It's not enough to brighten the energy that it brights the light more. We have to understand technology. We had, as I explained to you, we have a guy who's coming frequently onto the Space Center flight system because he's blind. We seen him now for the fifth, sixth time. He has a condition of the blindness, 6 years because of the stroke. He's been in the first 2 weeks. It's his third week coming in this week, and he goes through the full flight system because we're expanding the soul and understanding of it, and he comes out. He came on Monday. He said, 2 days I was flat on the floor with a massive headache in my head, there. And I said, that's good news. He looked at me. He said, what do you mean? I said, you're taking flight. Your life, your soul wants to change. He's repairing it. You're not doing anything. And so for him to see the damages of the stroke has to be repaired. And when you repair damages, I'm sure if we would have spoken to Naomi when the brain was getting built, she would have told us massive headaches, massive changes. But she couldn't speak at that time. But this gentleman can do. So the brain, and interesting enough, when he came out of the system yesterday, we just asked him, what do you see? He says for the first time, he can see red color. I explained to him why he sees the red color. I made a blind man to see color for the first time in 6 years in less than 3 weeks using the space technology of the plasma of his own soul. Our knowledge is like a torch at the end of a dark road. It's you who has to enlighten himself, find a way to that light. When you stand and a man says he can see color after 6 years through his own condition, his own work, then you understand the technology is so advanced in understanding the process of the creation. And this is not the first time we made the blind to see, because the soul wants to see through the eye of the man. But for him to see is not a flick of job. All the damages in the background has to be done. The soul is doing all his repairs in the background. He gets a headache of it because, sorry, you plugged the wrong plug in the wrong place, the fuse blown up, now we have to repair. Let's see how this goes. How would he develop to a full sight? By his soul. We allow the soul to expand, and that has brought the condition. And every time he goes in the enhancements unit, he tells us different stories what has been, what is done, and what's going on. We have to understand the knowledge in its totality in one or the other, or when we transfer knowledge from one to the other, understand where the changes, where the information sits. We talk about oxygen in the blood or the monoxide, but we don't want to talk about the gases and energies which carry as an energy in the body of a man. There is nothing else. New knowledge seekers can produce a pad. Anybody goes in a carbon monoxide condition, just put a pad on the chest, within milliseconds is done. You call in the work of the soul of the man, if you haven't understood it. But there's a condition. Does the soul want the physicality to stay? Or does the soul decide that's the condition I was looking for to escape from the pains of this life? Or I have another employment for this body, I want to take him somewhere else. You cannot stop all the accidents and ends just because you have the knowledge. You have no right to interfere with the work of the soul in the dimension of physicality. You can collaborate with it, you can help it to free it, you can bring all sorts of things to it, but you cannot dictate to it. Somebody said to me yesterday, I wanted to go, but I couldn't. I said, because your soul wasn't ready. You wanted it, but it doesn't want, because you don't know what things we're going to bring for you if you see. It's not time for it to do it. As we saw with the people who came into the system last week, 2 weeks ago, and yesterday. And then, if you understand this, and you understand the soul of the man, soul of physicality of the man, and the physicality of the man, then you understand it's very easy. In the next sessions, when you come to Linz, because now you are used to what we call going through seat 1, seat 2, and seat 3, and then go to the system. Through the test now, we know where we are, what we are doing. You will find out there'll be no seat number 1, 2, and 3. All 3 has been brought into one, as is in your physical life. You don't carry your physicality separate, your soul of physicality separate, your soul separate. You carry yourself as a human. The new system, when you come in next time, or if you've been before, you only sit in one chair and you go into the system. You can go to another chair and see what's the difference between this chair and traveling by your system. But there is no need for chair 1. We had to test that everything we do is correct. Now the 3 has become one. This is what I tell you. The advancement in technology is for us to understand that we can do the job correctly. I said to John a few days ago, I said, John, you bought so many for Arizona, you're going to get 1/3. He said, why? I said, now it's 3-1. It's the development in the technology. This is what will go into Rome Wellness Center. This is what will go to South American wellness centers. We're not just putting you just to see. It's for you to. It's for us. It's an enhancement center for simulation. You're simulating the system. You get to where you want. We get to our team to understand how to put it together the correct way. You will see bigger changes after August, September. New systems will come in. New systems will play the game. And this is the understanding. What happens if you put somebody who's dying of carbon monoxide into one of these systems? What would be the response be? Automatic, instantaneous, coming back to life. When I explain to you everything which we are used to is going to change you, you have not understood what juggernaut of knowledge has hit humanity yet. It's a super tanker. A tank of knowledge of the universe. Any other question?
Okay, we have a question in YouTube from the Plasma School Library of Australia. With the new car unit, will it go where the car goes to be able to charge along the way? In Australia, we have vast distances to cover and not good coverage of charging stations.
The process should be, you will understand, the ultimate goal for the cars will be 2 sections. We do that in our brain. We do that in our heart. The systems have to have 2 systems that one wire is delivering, the other one recharging from the one which is delivering. It's a very big difference. And in that process, you get a continuous supply. I'm sure car manufacturers like Tesla will divide their system in 2 halves very soon with this technology. That when one half is delivering, the other half is getting charged. And the difference between the 2 units next to each other will create that extraction of the fields from the universe. The systems you'll get works this way. We can go into the unlimited resources. We don't call it a freestanding because it's a knowledge of the universe. It's energy of the universe. It cannot stand free. It stands within the fields of the universe extraction. We'll release the delivery of the first units by end of July. And we tell you how many per week we deliver, how it's going to be done, what is the monitoring, what is the effect, what we see with what we call plasma units. We've seen the Magrab units being used on Tesla cars and other hybrid cars with a lot of efficiency changes or whatever. Now, you don't have to worry about what we call it, how long will it take? You need to bring in a combination. It's the same as what we've done, two systems in the enhancement unit. Two more new enhancement vision systems and simulation for systems are coming into the center in the next couple of months. It's the same principle. The dream of the man to have a free energy is in a way premature, because the man doesn't have the knowledge what he wants to jump the loop. And how we do it, it'll be very interesting how we'll take it and how we understand it. Any other question?
Okay, we have a question from Hassan in the YouTube.
Can I say something before you start? Just something I just forgot and it's important. The new list of members of the Universal Council for Languages will be released in the next few days. And the Universal Council will be added by more or less it doubles in numbers, active members. And I welcome all the new Universal Council members to the Council. And we hope we find a rapid development between the work of them and the Keshe Foundation. And at the same time, the number of the Universal Council supports for languages has increased, and there's a lot of work in the background getting done to bring them into line. And the floor is open for those who are devoted to serve humanity through the language to join the Universal Council. And it's your responsibility to what I call bring your language into understanding of it. I was explaining to one of the knowledge seekers yesterday in the enhancement unit that very soon, once we tell you, the way we tell you to go and dream or to go and see your mother or father or fly and or go to somewhere, when you come or when you're in enhancement unit, because now we tried this one without anybody realizing what we do, we'll ask you to speak Chinese. And if there has been in our system somebody who's been Chinese, you'll speak Chinese without you ever knowing it. To you, you speak your mother language, but to the listener, to the dimension of the soul, you speak Chinese to them. This is why we call you to come in as fast as you can. Now we have the Farsi language. We had a beautiful doctor with us from Iran yesterday. We had Kaus with us yesterday, and today he has the whole run of the system on his own today. We have the Italians, the French, the Romanians, the people from Bulgaria, and we're just adding on the languages. So do not be surprised that in the coming time, when the system is ready, when we ask you to go to Romania and you're English and you go to Romania and you speak Romanian and understand all the emotion of it, then you understand the purpose of Universal Council. And then you understand why it's been set up this way. We had yesterday the pleasure of our knowledge seekers from France. And now if you come in and we decide for you to speak French, you will go to French, what we call part of the speaking world, and you'll be speaking French like the French do. It'll be interesting. I wonder how many of you will go through and speak Portuguese as they already have been through the system without ever being to Portugal. You understand, you turn the television on, doesn't matter what language, is German, French, or Portuguese, because you've been through the system, you understand exactly what they say, you feel the emotion, but you never knew Portuguese. And this is the responsibility of Universal Council members. That's why we ask you to get to the system as fast as we can, to imprint the soul of the, what we call the physicality. Just this time now, we have received 2 Universal Council members, one known and one unknown, through the system. And we will see how they'll carry this dimension of the soul through the, what we call spoken language. Carry on.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it was from Hassan, who in a further comment says he always answers my question before you ask, Rick. So perhaps you've already answered, but in any case, Hassan says, you said on 22022022 that you are the bridge between the Universal Council, Universal Council support. I may add us and the universal community. So when we see you at the soul level during our sleep time, is it you contacting us or us contacting you?
Which Hassan is this one? Is it Hassan from Africa or Hassan in the US?
Hassan Halal.
Halal, in beautiful country of Gambia. When you do that, it could be both. If you don't mind disclosing Hassan, he is an extremely active guy as a council member or Universal Council member. When we had the Corona crisis, Hassan moved country to save the life of an ambassador. These are not unsung heroes. These are the knowledge seekers which are committed to the knowledge. He moved, he delivered ganses to the pilots to be delivered to a man he doesn't know. An Iranian ambassador was trapped with his son with Corona on a critical condition. He easily could say no. We had the same from Paul from Togo. Pilots carried the ganses in the cockpit. This is the devotion to service. So we came to you when we needed in a physical dimension. You have established a link. It's you calling or us is the same. A lot of knowledge seekers in the background, through what they believe and what they do a lot of strange things for the foundation, for the soul, for the humanity. And the only way I could save the life of an ambassador, Iranian ambassador, in a strange land in Africa was to get ganses to him. And with just one call, nothing else, Hassan was on the move to make sure he does what he could do best. We saved the life of the ambassador, and thanks both to Paul and Hassan. Materials arrived within hours from each other from 2 different parts of Africa, and both carried by the pilots to save a man's life they didn't know. A high-ranking diplomat. This is when you established a call. You don't need to make a call and say we need a help. You're aware of it, you do the job, and you don't need to make a connection if you call or I call. souls do their jobs that they need to do in dimensional physicality. And I thank you for both for such a rapid response to a dying situation in the Western Africa. Now, a boy of 14 has a father, and a man has a son, and Iran still has an ambassador. We answered to call of the Iran Foreign Office to move to save the life of high-ranking diplomat. In transit was confirmed. Corona and they could not go back or forth. Now you decide if you call us or we call you. We called you when we needed on the mission of physicality. So we have established a line of communication. And by the way, I like the tattoo on your shoulder. It's a strange place to put a tattoo, but it's amazing how you've done it. Any other question?
Okay, thank you for that somewhat cryptic answer.
It's not cryptic, it's the reality. Knowledge seekers know, when I need help with a foundation, I don't hesitate. I pick a call up and I just call. I don't, what I call in English, pussyfoot around. If we need help, we call. Because it's the way we set up the souls that are there for when the call comes. We give it freely, and we've seen, especially in time of needs for anything. Knowledge seekers don't even think this. The answer is instantaneously yes. What's the other question?
Okay, there's one from Alexandru from Chisinau. It might be in Romania, I believe.
Yeah.
It says, I've heard that plasma solves wounds and burns in a short time. If you can, please send me some treatment sheets or give me a suggestion from which materials to extract the information.
What? Can you repeat that?
He's heard that plasma cures or solves wounds and burns in a short time. So he'd like to have some kind of paperwork that describes the treatment and from what materials to extract that information, or some other suggestion from where you can get that information.
All over the internet, a lot of knowledge seekers have done that.
He goes on to say that a colleague from Ukraine wants to provide trauma centers with effective solutions for treating wounds and burns. That's the objective here, apparently.
We don't test with Ghanaian military in trying to do the wounds. I know Chinese military has done a lot of tests using Keshe Foundation technology for military wounds. When we talk about Ukraine, is a military wound. With shrapnels, is all sorts of missile bits and bobs and hits. Is different than a normal wound. And the way to do it is very simple. Most of the shrapnel wounds carry components of phosphor or sulfur, and some of them carry components of nitrogen. One of the best way to handle it is to make the ganses of it And then in conjunction with the gases connected to CO2 and Zn, and in all the processes collect the what we call the amino acid. And a mixture of the amino acid of all the elements plus the CO2 and Zn will create a field condition for withdrawing the effect of the shrapnels or components within the bullet wound, what we call armaments, anything military. And when you withdraw that, it becomes a normal wound to process itself, and Zn and CO2 with the amino acid. One, in a way, kills the pain, takes the neural information away, and one allows the neural system to be grown while there's no communication on the, what you call the pain side. You will see a rapid change. And actually, when you do it, when you do it with the amino acid, you will see no scars. They'll talk about they had a wound so big, but you don't see anything. People think you're crazy, you talk about nonsense. But this is what it does. It will not, most of the time, does not leave any scars. So if you, in Ukraine situation is now, I understand they need it, and this is why we release the information this way. These are mainly weapon, what we call application of the weapon technology, and this is the only way to do it. Some of you which will move into advanced plasma technology in a coming time will report plasma burns. Plasma burns are very different burns than any kind of burn you have ever known. And is extremely excruciating painful. And it lasts a very short time. You can get half of the skin of your finger out, and next day it's as nothing happened. The skin goes back to normality. I used to get this quite a lot years ago when I was experimenting, and I used to shout, and they used to tell me, "You burn yourself again with plasma." Yes, it happens. It's different than a burn with water, burn with fire. Your skin comes off, and next day is as nothing happened. Those plasma burns need a process, a special process for it to heal. And I overburning myself when I used to make a lot of flight systems and burner systems. It used to happen. I used to get the plasma the wrong way and used to escape. And when the plasma escapes, it's like a bullet. It just goes through you. But it's because your skin, your body is made of gases, it deforms a lot of things. You just see a piece of your skin hanging. And the next day is, what happened? The skin was not there. Yesterday was all off and it's back on again. Even when the skin comes up, it builds itself very rapidly within 24 hours. I have experienced this one hundreds of times. And you, as knowledge seekers, have not advanced to that level of plasma production. But plasma burns will become another part. And it's very similar to the bullet, what they call it, ornaments damage. The strange thing is most of the plasma wounds don't bleed. You have no blood coming out. The skin is open, you see your flesh, but there's no blood. You can't use a tissue to collect blood. If you burn yourself, the skin comes out and bleeds. Plasma wounds creates no blood. There's no, I've never seen a single drop, but I've seen half of the skin of my finger disappear or hanging. Just takes 24 hours or so. It's gone, and there was nothing there. If I had these in a matter states burning, my fingers should have seen a lot of different colors, blisters and everything. Those of you shake out with me, you see me, those fingers are all the same. Uh, this is part of new space development technology, which we have to understand. Use these kind of things for the situation in Ukraine, as you said, is that they want to help. This is the only way you can help. Find out the shrapnel, find out what was in the shrapnel, make a gas of it, and use it back the same for with the CO2 and then with the amino acid, and you'll see very rapid results.
Mr. Kesh, I was wondering about what are the ethics regarding, say, military hospitals in this case that are, patching up people that are wounded in battle and that kind of thing. Is that intrude on the World Peace Treaty, or is that the correct conduct to be doing in that situation?
I have a very good memory from His Eminence Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran. And I've said that before. When we saw the first coma patient in Belgium, about the same time, the Israeli ex-Prime Minister Sharon was in coma. If you remember, it was a huge man. I met with the Iranian ambassador in Brussels. And I put a request to the Iranian leadership, to the Iranian ambassador, that Mr. Sharon is in coma and we have the technology to help, to bring him out of coma. Message was sent to Iranian ambassador to Foreign Office to Eminence Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran. Reply was very swift. It came back very short. And the answer from Iran was, he used to be a diplomat. Now he's a man. It's your responsibility to look after him. I passed the message on to Mossad and the Israeli embassy in Brussels that we have instruction by the Iranian leadership that Mr. Sharon even used to be the prime minister, one of the biggest enemies of Iran at that time. It's a pleasure to be able to help him with the new technology. And out of nowhere, the girl which we helped with the coma case in Belgium, I received a call that they want me to attend in Liège Medical University section for a helmet which was built by the Israelis and by developed programs by Cambridge University to be tested in Liège, and they wanted me to be present. What we found out later on was this system developed by the Israeli securities to check that if it's used on the person's head, which will use our technology, it's correct. It brings back consciousness, awareness, and everything else, which it all came positive. And a few short time later, if you read the press, Mr. Shimon Peres was moved to private home to start this process. And this is the way it should be, that once you are injured in a military hospital, you do not carry rank. And according to the instructions of the Eminence Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran, you are treated as a human, as a soul. And this is the way we shall stay. And hopefully when they come out, in receiving technology, in the revelation of the physicality of the soul, they'll walk away from this position. And this is what we have to learn. This is why we have to understand. Ranking in the hospital does not exist. You are an injured person, doesn't matter if it's a military or a normal hospital. It's you who have to change your position when you move out. If you still want to be, when it's still done, you learn another lesson. Always said, very interesting point if you understand it. We see people to go to war, especially I followed this one with the American military soldiers going back to Middle East and different wars and coming back in the past 20, 30 years. Majority of the soldiers who come back with different mental conditions and different things, majority, not all of them, have committed the crime of killing. You see many soldiers go and come back and you see nothing with them. Then they say they shot you something, but majority of what we see is the punishment of the soul of the man to the man who's taken the life. Then all the psychosomatic other part of it is the result of the balancing of the soul's energy. I followed this very closely in the past 20 years, especially soldiers who've been going to Iraq, to Syria, they went to Afghanistan and the rest of it. The truth about the life, taking a life, kills the soul of the man. Limits the strength of his expansion. We call it illness. Then we'll see, if you like, as I always said, shoot yourself in the foot and do a marathon of life when you already lost a leg by yourself. Man will not touch a gun, not usually out of the fear of what has happened to him, knowing that it will happen to him. There is no fear. So, being in a position of military and serving and whatever, once you are in the hospital, you're a man. And I learned a lot from when I received. I was actually shocked when I got that message from the Iranian embassy in Brussels. And at the same time, we saw another coma case, which was the Prince of Holland in London after an accident. And I asked the King of Belgium in the meeting we had them, can you pass a message on to the Dutch royal family that we can help with the prince? And some of you knowledge seekers from Holland were with us. You did a lot of work trying to establish that line where the Queen did not want to help for the child. It was very shocking to me. Very like the woman who didn't want to see when I was told that the Queen has refused to accept anything. He wants that son to be the condition he is. That's the affairs of the family and the monarchy. But we've seen this. When you're in a state of illness, it's the responsibility of the physicians to bring you out of that condition. Doesn't matter what it is. And it's for them to decide in the future how they change their life, being military or civilian. It's very interesting. If you listen to most of the wars in the past, and especially ones coming out of Ukraine, a lot of Ukrainian military soldiers, when it comes to the last point, they change to civilian clothing and they try to get out as a civilian. They don't want to be in that uniform. But would they, if they manage to get through, will come back and put the uniform on, or they learn from it, they learn what it means, it could be in the corner, and walk away from military. Helping someone in a time of pain and weakness is an obligation. It's not a condition of choice. Any other question?
Okay, a question from Dan. Why does a Romanian understand French, Italian, English, Spanish, and Portuguese, but the others find it difficult to understand Romanian? What fields do we have at the base?
There is the same thing with Dutch and with some Germans and some other languages. You see similarity into it and you understand it. And sometimes you don't understand it, but then you know you understood it. I know what you're talking about because I know a lot of Romanians watch a lot of untranscribed television programs in Romania. In Germany, in France, everything is dubbed. The guy moves mouth but speaks French, and the same movie you watch in Germany, moves mouth but speaks Czech. in Romania, they don't do that. They didn't used to do that. I don't know if they still do it. So you listen to the Spanish-Portuguese program, which is very common in Romania, and they have a subtitle. So people naturally pick up the language. That's one of the main reasons, especially the young generation. But it's very interesting what you say, because I had to stand this yesterday. I lived in Italy for 6 years, never learned a single, more or less, word of Italian because everybody around us speaks English. And in past 2 weeks, we have invasions of Italians in the center. And most of them don't speak any English. Yes, no, and then when you say thank you very much, it says no, thank you, no, no. And then when you say something, somebody else to say no, and something has got to be no, they say yes. So you don't know what talking with the Italians is no more. But so I had to stand with the Italian translator, try to understand what they went through in their system. And you know, I go in and out of the system continuously because they have to change things. And I was standing there listening to Italian. I understood. I said, "You don't need to translate." The translator says, "You understand?" I don't need to. You don't need to translate. I could understand all Italians, but when I lived in Italy, I didn't understand a single word. It was a beautiful experience yesterday with the Italians. Maybe because Estefania wasn't there, but translation was so not needed. It was like as I knew, I understood everything. There was more or less a couple of words which I couldn't understand, but I didn't need a translator. I wonder what will happen when the next was coming. I noticed the same thing with the Germans, because the Germans speak, some of them, English enough to be able to explain the emotion. The emotion of technology, it gets lost in translation. So I don't speak any German, but now I realize I know a lot of German. I understand the emotion, what they talk about, and the words. And it's very interesting. I want to know what happened with the next group of people, the French or the Spanish or the others who come in, what they bring with them. But what you say, I had experience with it yesterday, and it's a beautiful pleasure. Knowing I never knew Italian, but I understand every single one of it. And it wasn't a need for translation. Is it because I go into this environment with all the Italians? They have the party, they bring the bottle of wine, you get the full emotion of it. Italians are the only one who have up to now lied down on the floor. And they sleep on the floor. Italians, they come in with the wines and everything else. And this is something I experienced yesterday and the day before with the, what do you call, with the Italians who are with us, and I see the same with the Germans. I'm the worst person to learn languages, but I understand them now like second language. But beauty of it is when I was listening to the Italian yesterday, when I became aware of it, I wanted to know if I get the emotion of the language, emotion of what they were trying to explain, to translate. I could feel the emotion. It was fantastic. I will never, maybe when I go in and decide to speak Italian in the room, I'll speak Italian, I don't know. But it's very, very interesting how we will change languages, how we understand languages. But regarding Romanian, I know this because nations which do not, what do you call it, of the movies, leave it in the original language with the subtitle, and then people love to watch it. They listen to it, but they read it and they get fed up of reading it. They try to see if what they read is matches to the voice. Next time they don't read it. And they have that habit. And Romanians never changed Portuguese and Spanish and some French, and a lot of them. I had this experience with Ella, head of the Keshe Foundation, when she joined us in 2 excursions to Brazil. She said she doesn't need to, she's never studied, but she understands and she can speak to them because in childhood, she watched a lot of movies, Spanish and Portuguese on the television with subtitle. That's how we came to know. And when I speak to a lot of nations who do not adopt their language, their movies, you see that in the new generation. Because they pick up their own channels is all traditional other movies. They get fed up, they go to the new movies, to the other languages, and reading a subtitle and the voice, it just matches up and they learn languages. And that's why it is for the Romanians. Or at least this is what I see and what I've observed, because we had this experience in Brazil last year, or 2 years ago. Any other question?
Question from Chen Lin in the Q&A here in the Zoom. Can the capsule, he calls it a capsule, I think he means the flight enhancement spaceship unit, can the capsule repair the memory of the soul?
Yes. I tested this last week, and yes. But you have to, the lady who came out of the system was interested or was touched deeply by the emotion of the warmth of the hug of the childhood time of the mother. And it was amazing to watch it, and the way she was touched emotionally, you could feel it, that even though she's in her 60s now, she had that instant of the love she felt so pure from the mother must have ingrained in the soul. She didn't feel the mother. She didn't touch the mother. She felt the mother as an energy. She knew this is the mother. And the only thing she was interested in, she was talking with such emotion about the warmth and the cuddle of the mother when she was a child. So yes, it can be done. It's amazing what you can tap in. Gradually, in the test room, we are testing a lot of things, and we wait when they come out what we get and how we get, and how the physicality of the man gives information to the soul of the man, do this, and the soul does that. We talk in a language for the soul to hear, because now when you go through the enhancement unit, and we see they do. They remember when they come out everything. The beauty of it is, chair number 1, we know it's the collection of the physical side. When they go to number 2 and number 3, you move into the expansion of the soul. They always say they get bigger, all of them. 90%, it just grows. They see themselves growing, but it's not them, it's energy around them. And when we talk to them, like, would you like to go somewhere? Would you like to fly? Would you like to go to pastime? We don't talk because soul cannot hear it. The physicality inside hears it, transfers it to the soul, and the soul goes. And this is the beauty of what we see. It's an amazing experience. It's not just standing saying what people tell you after they come out. The emotion and the way they've done it, and you know what you've done, and you know what you've seen. We had 5 people, 4 people in the system yesterday. We tried to concentrate the energy of them. It was impossible. It was just a ping pong of people who didn't know where they want to go. And I came out and said, this is not going to be very good. 2 or 3 people here, I just don't know where they're going. They're taking and giving from the system. And the system just fluctuates. We see it. And we seen 2 weeks ago a woman coming in. She took everything, not only from the system, from the people in the room. It's an interesting time as a researcher and observer of this new process. Any other question?
Yes, we have a hand up here. Finally have a hand up in our attendees. Dean, would you like to go ahead, please?
Thank you, Rick. Good morning, Mr. Keshe. I have a question.
Are you testing your microphones?
No, at the moment, no. I'm on my phone at the moment, Mr. Keshe.
Okay.
I've noticed people that go into the system. And,
let me explain before you go ahead. Dean is the cameraman and our TV side of the recording of all the people who come out of the, what do you call, the flight unit. A lot of them don't want to give interviews, some of them don't want to be there, and some they do. When I finish what I call my interrogation and understanding what they do, they go in the hand of Dean. So Dean sees the other side of them recording. Some of the recording you've seen, all the recording you've seen up to now from the enhancement is done by Dean, from the people who just come after talking to me, they go on the chair to talk with him. So you understand, when he talks, he's literally listening to the back end of where they come out, and they tell him more than they tell us, because now they're relaxed, they're not under pressure or trying to remember something telling us. Carry on, Dean.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. So I've noticed some people go in and they come out and they say, I've not experienced anything. Through my understanding and through your teachings, I know that they've received a spectrum of energy and they are in constant communication, constant flow of energy with the system, with the interaction of the soul and the system. I've also noticed that some people, when they actually go in and they do connect and they remember this connection, they walk out and this deep, unconditional love behind their eyes. There's a hard thing to say, but there's like this overwhelming emotion. You see it through the face, and I can only describe it. I can see behind their eyes this undeniable, unconditional love sort of coming from them. And when you then speak to them within an interview or something, you can see this overwhelmingness just coming out of every part of their being. There's like an energy all around them, and it's such an honor just to be present with them. It's like it really is that soul essence being touched by that magnificence of the soul. It's astonishing to be present afterwards, and an honor to be able to speak with these beautiful souls. Incredible, it really is. So it's sort of a testimonial to the system, Mr. Keshe. Everything you've delivered. Thank you so much, Mr. Keshe. What you've brought forward for humanity is beyond words. It is. I thank you from the bottom of my soul for what you've done for humanity. I know you do so much, and people. I know people give a lot, but humanity, you need to understand what Mr. Kesh has brought forward here. It is quite unbelievable, and the team behind him. I've seen how wonderfully they work. All the knowledge seekers, and all the Kesh Foundation. They are so devoted, and they bring this knowledge forward to help humanity. And it's astonishing. Thank you, Mr. Kesh, and thank you, the team, Klaus, and everybody involved. You're just such beautiful souls. It's remarkable, and it's an honour to be present with you all. So, Mr. Kesh, yeah, so that emotion behind the eyes, the emotion behind the eyes, that's what it really. That's what's touched me when I see people come out. There's also something else I'd like to say. I've not been in the system. However,
you're not allowed in the system.
I'm not allowed. I've been around these energies for a little while now, and what you spoke about earlier on, I've experienced briefly. So this was there was a position where I was speaking to an Austrian person, and for a brief, like 10, 15, 20 seconds maybe, they spoke, and I totally understood everything they said, and I thought, how did I know that? And this was going back 3 or 4 months ago, and then you've come forward and spoken about this today. So I've experienced this very briefly. This that language thing is yeah, that touched me when you spoke about that today.
What we see, a lot of people coming out of the system, a good percentage, large percentage, they speak about the light. They speak about light inside them, within them. In a way, they recognize their own soul. And a lot of them, when they see in their travel something else, it says, I'm you. I'm your soul in front of you. And it's very funny when they speak to you because they see their own soul speaking to them. And we had a couple of ladies in that position that I'm your soul, I'm soul, I'm you, as they say. And they receive enlightenment and it touches them. They see beauty and it touches them, but they see the beauty of themselves. And that's a beautiful thing about it. And we see them coming out of the systems, and some of them change. I'm in communication with some of the knowledge seekers who've been through, and especially if they came with a partner, they see the change in the partner. How life changes for them. You don't see, you're not mainly aware of your own changes, but if you go in with a partner, you feel that change. And you feel the beauties of what that change has brought. Less fighting, less argument, it's more pleasure. Everything has changed. When you speak to them, less argument, everything is so harmony. Yesterday, I witnessed this in a beautiful way between a couple. And how they care a different way. A woman says, I have a new partner. And it touches them. It touches the soul, elevates the soul. And we see it when they come out, the eyes are different, the emotions are different. It's nice to see both ends of what I call the work, what we produce the systems and what we see the system produces at the end of it. What comes out of it is so beautiful. It's what you set up to do.
Thank you, Mr. Kesh. One thing I'd like to say is all the nations, all the people going through, coming through, having this flight experience, they're drawn in, that they feel this. I'm speaking from myself, obviously I don't know this for sure. However, it seems that they're drawn in as a soul to come to the center. They experience the the technologies. Some report that they feel these the field strength the moment they walk through the door, and they almost, some of them. I mean, one of the knowledge seekers said to me, they actually don't need anything else. They received everything they need the moment they walk through the front door. And I from my understanding, I think they may receive this even before they walk through the front door. And then there's other people that when they then speak afterwards, I've noticed that there's a deep soul resonance, a connection in the physicality, where the information gets. There was a couple yesterday that first of all, one of the couple spoke and they couldn't express themselves much. Then the partner spoke, and then they wanted to come back again. And the conversation is, I'm supposed to be doing these interviews for a certain period of time, and then it's very difficult, not speaking the language, to stop them mid-flow and say, can you shorten it so that we can get this into a knowledge seekers what the word is, so we can shorten it enough so that we can use it within the knowledge seekers workshops that you hold, this one right now. So it's difficult to I don't know what I'm trying to say now. I've sort of lost my own track now.
Yeah, you got carried away.
I got carried away. Yeah, sorry. So what it is, it's the emotion of this. People are experiencing this in very deep, profound ways, and I've noticed that some are in the soul of physicality, are experience some body shifts, and understanding they believe, or in their own understanding, that that's what they've received. And then another soul responds that the soul of physicality, that position was opened up a whole spectrum of energies for them. And then others describe that they go into another position, the third position, and they then start to feel that flight, that flight enhancement. However, and I've not been in there, so I openly admit this to everybody.
We won't let you in there.
Yeah, I know you won't let me in there, Mr. Kesh.
Let me explain to people. Let me explain to people exactly what you're going to get when you get Dean.
So,
when you come out, it's us. We're looking for facts. When you go to Dean, it's just like sitting with a grandpa and telling a story. It's a confession time to grandma, I call it. And it's very different now what they talk to us. And he sits there and he says, oh, yes, very much. You know, the way a grandma looks after the baby, the children, grandchildren. And he pampers them up for them to go through the full emotion of what they felt. And it's amazing to see it. And now and then I get a message, oh, you know, they forgot to tell us this. They're telling it to me. So it's what I call Mrs. Doubtfire, if you know the movie. You're going on the chair there to the confession box of there's emotion, and not the way we look at it in a systematic way to find the solutions to understand what the parameters of our work are. Thank you very much, Steve, for your work. It's amazing. I sometimes watch him, how he goes through them, because we are in the same area. And while I'm talking with the new people coming out, he is interviewing the ones who already been out and they've gone through what we call interrogation. And it's very, very nice. But one thing is, all of them, they speak about when they go to the system 1321, they speak about landing. It's just like they say, it's like an aircraft landing. They come back to them because they know this trip is over. It's just like going on a holiday, one says, and when you go on the last seat to come out, you know, that's it. The journey is over. The holiday time is over. And a lot of them lose sense of time. The guy came out and says, have I been in there that long? I thought I was there half an hour or so. Well, it's been there 2.5 hours. This is the beauty of what we call traveling with the soul, has no time. And a lot of them don't like me going in there and telling them, excuse me, do you mind if you move? This seat is needed for another person to go through. And some of them are so deep. I had this experience on Tuesday. The lady was in the unit and I said to her, I thought she's looking at me, but she wasn't looking at me in the room, in the system. And I said, excuse me, do you mind? And she went, jumping as, you know, I woke her off to sleep. And I got frightened more than she did. I just had to leave the room. Because they go into a different, in a different structure of mind. A lot of people come out, they talk about dimension, they're in different. It's not a dimension, it's the same life. Now you got used to what is inside you to be outside, and you can enjoy both. And that's the only way I can describe it. It's the first time you have collaborated, you have worked openly with your soul. And this is what a lot of you don't understand. Up to now, it was something imaginary somewhere. The priest told you it's your soul and it goes to heaven or hell or whatever. But now it's the first time in these machines, you and your soul working together. I listen to the physicality of the man, what they tell you, I tell you, and you do carry on, take us where you want. That's all it is. And this is what we promised from the beginning, to free that bird from the cage. And now that bird goes everywhere and brings you messages back, but you are with it. You actually rely on it to go as your, what do you call it, outpost in the dimension of the field of universe. And it's beautiful what you see. And if you understand it, it's not just talk, somebody came and said this and that. It's the first time the soul of the man and the physicality of the man are working together. I know what these people say because they're humans. I've got to carry the body of the human, and so I tell you what to do. And they both listen. Up to now, you dream and the soul was inside. Now the soul is outside and tells the physicality what to do, because you've got to take me there. I don't know, I just sit there. You're a plasma. And that's why with the body of the man, you fly. With the soul of the man, you go to places. And that's why I say in the flight system says, try to go to moon, try to go to see your uncle or your father or your children. You don't fly to the moon. And if you are in a physical dimension, I tell you, would you like to fly? Yes, I like to fly. But I didn't fly, I just went there. You don't realize that you actually instantaneously, humanity for the first time has learned the collaboration openly between the soul of the man and the physicality of the man in the environment created for man to have that freedom and pleasure. And this is the beauty of it. It's the first time you work with your soul. It's the first time you have the freedom. You have the understanding that I don't need to wait to dream. I want to see the mom. I see the mom. Because I know somebody who can take me there and knows where it is. And if I don't see the mom, means she's busy, she doesn't want to see me. It's like in a real life, you call mom is not home, mom is gone out for a party, so you have to wait next time. And we seen it yesterday in the people who came in for the second time to go through the system. As Dean said, some people don't go through that because partially our system is not set up, partially the soul is too scared to move out, to do anything. And partially they feel they come in to do something, right? If I let my soul go, what's going to happen? I can't get it back. So I want to be in the system, but I don't want to let it go. Yesterday we had a guy, he was crying and crying and crying. From seat 1, he started crying. He was in the seat number 2 because he was crying, and he was crying so loud. He went into the system, he was crying louder. I said to the guy, can you get him out? Because he's got to come and disturb the other one. And when he came, I said, why were you crying? What happened? He said, I wanted to fly, but I couldn't fly. So I was so angry with myself that I couldn't fly. And I said, this is where it's gone wrong. Physicality is still trying to control the soul. And Yes, it's the first time. It's the first time ever in the life of the man, a system allows you to expand, to free your soul, but still be that bird in the cage. Most of the time, we are the cage, and the soul is the bird. Now, the soul is the cage, and we are the bird inside. The way we've been kind to our soul, the soul is kind to us, we work together. And this is what the whole purpose of this technology. You want to go to New York, get on a physical plane, spend 10, 12 hours, airports and everything else. Let the soul out, take me to New York, change the clothes, let the soul in, and you're out. That's all in a very near future. Many of you will do this because now you learned. We see people coming back for the second time. People will come back for a fourth time, for a fifth time, and they will learn it, and they will show you how it is, how it's done. I'm a very patient man. Few weeks more waiting till the first knowledge seekers go through this transmutation. It's not that long. I waited thousands of years. But it's the beauty of it. For the first time, we let you do and work with something which you engaged and you denied yourself to for millions of years. Not only the man, even the patterns of the universe. Any other questions?
Mr. Keshe, sorry, can I just ask one last question?
Yep.
So for the souls entering into the system, will they in the moments to follow be able to so they're going in and they're experiencing, say they travel to see
They go
a
through,
parent, or they go to the moon, or they go to the sun, or they go to a distant galaxy, wherever they need to be. Will there be a moment when this soul will be able to be in more than one location in the moment?
In a way, yes. It can be. What will be interesting is when we get the first people who are diagnosed with beautiful people in them, what you call a schizophrenic, and see how the two souls of individuals will take shape in, and if they participate by portal, by 1 or by 3 or 10 of them. This system will throw a new expander in the work of the medicine and psychology. When the mothers come with the children with a diagnosis schizophrenic with 2 characters, 3 characters, and have to sit and watch that all these characters come out together and play. It will happen sooner or later. It's inevitable, it will happen. And that'll be a pleasure. Then you see when I tell you for years that individuals trapped in one physicality. And it'll be very interesting how they shine, how they will show themselves when they come out. Would all 3 become independent speakers of what they went through? Or we have to listen to one, which is the one who wants always to talk in the physical dimension. We'll talk to them inside, and we talk to them outside and see if they match. A wonderful time has come forward for humanity to know and see what they've done with their own children in mental hospitals and institutions and injections for decades, because they never understood the truth about the creation. I'm looking forward to that. It's one of my deepest wishes to have the first schizophrenics, we call it, that I call beautiful people in the system. I worked on it for nearly 30 years to prove, to show, to bring respect to these people and not shame and what we've done to them to castrate.
Mr. Keshe, thank you for your beauty. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much. Any other question?
I am searching and I'm not
That's good, no question.
seeing new questions here.
It's very good. It's fantastic. It means knowledge seekers now learning and listening and understanding.
We do have a comment from Wolfgang in the live stream. Thanks, thanks a lot for the teaching, Mr. Kesh, Rick, and KF team, and best success for all beings in understanding and practicing the knowledge in the harmony of the Creator and the universe.
Very much. We call it a day, and I think, as we said, the time of the change is there. We have gone and endeavored to put in the new enhancement unit for energy out, the new health centers to be done in Rome. And the biggest gift we could give to the Iranian nation was that Iran will commit itself to what we call safe nuclear power stations around the world by containment and not by destruction. Thank you very much for today, and hopefully we'll have more news next week. Thank you, Rick.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Kesh, for today's teaching and information. It's good news, and we look forward to all the wonderful developments that are coming out of the Kesh Foundation and others associated with the Kesh Foundation. Okay, that wraps it up for our 439th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, June 30th, 2022. See what else do we have? There's I guess the next public teaching will be the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace and Justice, coming up on Tuesday. Will be in July 5th at that point. Tuesday, July 5th, starting at 4 p.m. Central European time. And we look forward to members, hearing from members of the Universal Council. Understand there's a lot of activity there, as Mr. Kesh has alluded to, in the next few days. So perhaps we'll hear an announcement from them in that workshop. Okay, thanks everyone, and we'll see you next time around. I'm going to go out with our one of my favorites, which is the Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit. Musical version. Let's get that lined up here, and bye for now.